Hi, my name is Betsy Horne, and I'm a lyric soprano from El Centro, California.
Critics worldwide praise her big, potent soprano, her clear and lovely tone in all registers, as well as her ability to sensitively feel out her roles and parts. Today she is here, and I'm very glad she found the time to come. Thank you so much for joining us today, Betsy Horne.
Thank you for inviting me.
So something you probably get asked a lot. How did you start your journey?
Well, my grandmother was an opera singer. I grew up in Southern California in the desert, a rural farming community. There's not a lot of opera there at all. But my grandmother was a choir director, and she had also studied voice. So I heard the operatic voice while I was growing up, and I was very interested in acting in plays, and I was always really good at reciting poetry, and I was kind of a stage animal, I guess, from a pretty young age. And I had voice lessons with my grandma, got more into the musical, singing, or country music even. I was in a high school band for a while. But I never actually heard any opera. I heard my first opera live when I was 19 years old. It was The Ballad of Baby Doe by Douglas Moore. That's played quite often in the States and not too often in Europe, because it's really about an American kind of saga about silver mining. And yeah, I was kind of bitten by the bug. I was taking voice lessons at my liberal arts college in Missouri, and I was just really infected by opera and by the human voice. I was always really just wanting to learn more and more and more. And so I came to Germany, and it's a very long story, and it always just kept on progressing. I would have one step, I would get into this school and get a scholarship, and then I would keep learning more and more, and then I got a scholarship to come to Germany, and then I was in the young ensemble in Mainz, and was then asked to do small guesting things in Wiesbaden, and it just sort of always, the next step always kind of came, and I was working hard and ready for it, and so that's sort of my journey in a nutshell.
And now you're an opera singer.
Yeah.
A very successful one. So when you go into a new character you study it, making it yours, what is your process? Do you have some kind of routine? What first, what next?
I think that the routine is really mostly, since I do sing a lot of things in languages that are not my native language, obviously, or even German, because I'm pretty fluent in German. But normally if I'm doing something that's in a really foreign language to me, I really start with the text, with the translation, with the phonetic. I write everything out phonetically, and I speak the text in rhythm. I also try to get my hands on what's the word in German, Vorlage, the literature or the play that maybe something is based on, the opera would be based on. And I kind of want to know about the story first and the background of the characters, and then I go to the music. I actually really do start with the text.
So you do sing a lot of German stuff. For example, Elsa, Arabella, the Marschallin in Rosenkavalier. The German Fach and Betsy Horne, that's a true love story, isn't it?
It is. I mean, I came to Germany because I was really fascinated by German Lieder, by the song literature. And I had a little notebook where I had a list of all the songs that I wanted to sing and learn. And a lot of it was Schumann, and a lot of it was Strauss. Wagner I didn't know so much about. And actually for a young singer, maybe it wouldn't be the best thing to be obsessed with trying to sing Wagner as soon as possible. But, although it depends. But yeah, I was always really fascinated with the German language and with these beautiful melodies, and I'm just like really a romantic composer loving person, and I knew it would suit my voice somehow instinctively. When I was in college, I got a record player from a music teacher and I went and bought a $1 record of Elizabeth Schwarzkopf singing 4 last songs, and I didn't know what they were about, but I just remember sitting there crying. Yeah. But I knew that I would sing that somehow, someday. I knew it. And I'm so glad that I've sort of found my home there, because it suits me in so many ways, and I'm really grateful that I have the chance to sing some of these really amazing roles.
So opera in general has changed a bit during the past decades. So nowadays productions often hang on to some sort of contemporary style, and directors try to keep step with the zeitgeist. And in addition, the digital culture has made opera more accessible than ever before.
Mm-hmm.
And I think artists can no longer ignore this development the classical world is going through. So how do you as an artist, how did all those changes and transformations affect you?
Well, I don't know if they've affected me directly, because I've sort of been growing up. Really, I'm such a Regie Theater baby. I started off, doing these incredibly strange modern productions in Mainz as a student, a lot of world premieres actually, or very new music. And so I've never had a problem with the modern productions. I think it's important that the director really respects the work and also respects singers. And I also think that singers are capable of a lot, nowadays anyway, a lot more than people think. And there's this stereotype, of course, of this parking and barking, that singers just go on stage and open their mouth and then leave. But we have to do a lot of acrobatic things. Not necessarily in this production right now. I'm doing a very almost traditional production right now of Otello here in Klagenfurt, and it was really kind of an adjustment for me, because I've done some very strange things. I've sung Tatiana's letter scene swinging, or just some very, very interesting things. But I actually really enjoy that. I think it's also important that we keep opera interesting and that we can appeal to all kinds of audiences. And I think that an audience also knows if the director is really being true to the work, and that I think the aesthetic is really secondary a lot of times. If the real figures are being respected, and if the real relationships and the music are true, then I don't think it matters what kind of staging we have.
So after many years of experience, has your access to your different roles changed?
I mean, it's interesting, because for example, I did the Marschallin in 2013 for the first time, which was a very young Marschallin, although with Hofmannsthal, I think she's 32, so I was already probably too old for the Marschallin then. And then I've done 2 more productions since then, and I definitely have been through a lot in the last few years in my personal life, and so of course that changes, and of course when you have a director who has his own take or her own take, it's interesting, but you do of course draw on your personal experience. Every artist has their own thing that they bring to a role, and it's really important to keep that, although of course it can adapt with the time.
So something non-opera and non-music people or the public might wonder about is how singers do cope with this permanent strive for perfection and the immense pressure.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not only the big task of removing all doubts and maybe well-meaning opinions around one, there will also always be a number of people who question what one's doing. So have you sometimes found yourself sailing against the grace?
Yes, definitely. In the question you say something about removing all doubts. You will never be able to remove all doubts. I think a lot of singers have this sort of imposter syndrome, thinking like, why do people think that I should be allowed to go on stage and sing something like the Marschallin? That's what I would think. There's this little voice that's just always kind of questioning what I'm doing. And that's healthy. And it should be inside of you, because there are so many people who will offer their opinions, like you say. And it's really important to have this inner voice that is also your truth, that that is telling you the right way to go. And people will offer their opinions, but for example, when I was changing from mezzo to soprano, there were a lot of people that were saying, well, you have a job as a mezzo, you're working, I was at a pretty good house in Wiesbaden. It was a good job, and people were saying, why would you risk that? You have work, which is not necessarily a given in this business. You know, there are so many people that would love to have one of these positions at an opera house in Germany or in Austria, but I knew inside that I needed to change something. I knew that my real voice, my true voice, was still going to be coming out, and I had also people that supported me. So you really have to filter. You have to know who's well-meaning, but above all, really know what you want to do and what your direction is. And I'm really grateful that I have a pretty strong opinion and a good feeling, a good instinct myself, and that as opportunities have appeared, I've been able to take them and trust and get rid of the doubts enough to be able to trust that I should take the next step.
You have been in this business for 12 years now, right? It is said that there is a thin line between light and shady sides, between limelight and darkness. The artist's life is not always glamour, sparkle, and dolce vita, is it?
No, it's a good life. It's an interesting life. You're always meeting new people, and I think you're always learning about yourself, and I think that's great, and I love that part of it. And I love to see new places, and I love to try out new foods and just see the sights. I love that. But of course, we're there to sing. We're in a new town to sing, and I heard a great quote that we don't get paid to sing, to actually sing. You get paid to wait. And I think that's I would say that's really true. You would sing for free because singing's really pretty fun. But sitting around and really glamorous, steaming into a pan, inhaling steam, or using the neti pot to make sure that your mucous membranes are all clean and functioning great. Those are things that are not very, very glamorous, but it's part of the deal.
On the one hand, there is the possibility of escaping into the ideal, beautiful stage world. On the other hand, there is the offstage reality. So, how do you manage to keep the balance?
Well, I don't really think that I don't escape from reality on stage. It all sort of melds into each other, and I think that people think, oh, we go out on stage and we're carried by this conductor, and a lot of times you do have a conductor that's watching your every move, but our antennas are so out. So you've got this thing going. You've got your singing that you're doing, that you've practiced and you've learned that. But then there are so many things on stage to constantly consider. I did a show in Otello once where one of the pieces of the stage was drawn up into the proscenium, broke a halogen light, so there are glass shards all over the stage. I'm barefoot. I've got to see where is it, what's Otello doing, what's the conductor doing. Will I not cut my feet on these glass shards that are all over the stage? I mean, the reality is that this is it's a glamorous job, but it's a job, and I've tried to take a lot of the mystique out of singing, and just really been trying really hard to see it as a part of my life, but not the most important part of my life, and just sort of obviously the singer Betsy takes over some parts of my private life as well, and of my choices that I make every day. So it really is not two separate things. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So we were talking about the German Fach earlier, but you also do many Slavic roles.
Yes.
So you have very successfully debuted as Katja Kavanova in the United States. You have sung Tatiana in Onegin in Coburg, probably. And your next production is by Rimsky-Korsakov's Sacco.
Yeah.
So this is rarely played, but...
Very.
So what is your relation to this kind of repertoire?
Well, I love the Slav, I love Janáček, I love the Czech language. There's so much, it's so like the word onomatopoeia, Lautmalerei. It's so completely interesting, and so you can really paint the words. And I love the stories of Janacek. I love this. I guess I kind of have this like dark, melancholic side for sure. And the development of a character like Tatiana is so amazing. I mean, she has this huge arc that spans so many years, and so what's not to love about playing a character like that? And then you've got this fantastic music, and the next opera that I'm doing, the Sadko from Rimsky-Korsakov, is a kind of a bit like Rusalka. It's sort of a fairy tale opera, and I feel very also drawn to those languages. Russian's very great to sing. You really have a very open throat. When you think about like Russian basses, you think about this big open throat, and it's really great to sing. So I'm really interested in exploring that. And I was just telling my Russian coach yesterday that I'd really like to sort of learn Russian. And I think I've got some of the Cyrillic. I think that's sort of the big hurdle at the beginning, is getting past being able to read Cyrillic. But of course the grammar is also a whole other deal. And the vocabulary. I've already learned German. I don't know. One of these days, I'll get to that.
Well, sounds amazing. So toi 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 for everything you're doing. Good luck and all the best.
Probably Richard Strauss. I binge watch TV, and I like to go to grocery stores and look at the different kinds of food they have. The kitchen, because I really enjoy cooking, and I also do a lot of studying on my little table in the kitchen. My passport, my score, and my credit card. Seriously? Money does not grow on trees. I'm still binge watching This Is Us. It's really good. Well, then I would really be a singer to Park and Bark, but it would be Mexican food. I would eat a lot of Mexican food. My friends, Skype and keeping in contact with my great friends. I take a little bite of my favorite Galo Revoice bonbon, and I say thank you.